It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask him, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationship with the University of Miami.
Having another good block, and Toretto lays it out.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
It's Wednesday night, Lamar.
Boy,
Another season of the Lamar Thomas Show is upon us.
what's going on, Gary?
Doing good. And I think everyone can see that this year's show is once again presented by Keynesware. There you are,
Right.
at Keynesware, but we got a new Keynesware this year, an expanded store down in the same shopping plaza where Keynesware has been for the past several years. But now it's bigger, it's better, it's greater. Kind of like the Miami Hurricanes football team that we hope will take the field on Friday night at 7:00 against the other Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Man, your kids are going to have a party in that store with all those footballs.
Well, let's try not to get them in. They need to be home sleeping around this time. Okay, how about that? If not, they will be running around in here. We've talked about the owners here and myself being a partner. We talked about having a fun zone, a slushy zone, and maybe even an adult beverage zone.
Well, you got Laspadas there, so you got the food covered.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of food surrounding.
People can go get big subs.
This is really nice, man. I mean, you guys got to come down here and check this store. I mean, it's not like the other store where you felt like things were like crammed on top of you. They had so much merchandise, but this is spread out. I mean, they got Dolphins, Hurricane, Messi gear. I mean, you name it down here in South Florida, it's here. Heat, all kind of stuff is down here. You got to come check this out.
I got a picture of the store behind me. I'll just lean down so you guys can see it.
Show me that pillow. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. All kind of stuff around here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, this is soft.
Don't fall asleep, Lamar. Can I tell
you got too much to talk about.
Before we talk about the Canes, can I just tell a story like what your life's been like this week?
Oh, geez. Yeah,
I mean, Lamar, you can't get him on the phone. I'm talking to him at 7:00 tonight. I texted him. He says, can't talk right now. I'm changing the diaper. He's like playing daddy daycare the whole week. He's running kids to gymnastics practice and God knows what else all over town. LT, you're a little grayer.
Yes.
In the goatee than you were a year ago.
Yes.
I don't know if it's from daddy daycare or if it's from coaching
Maybe a little bit of a combination of both. Orlando Guardians, 1-9, and my kids, Parker, Logan, Blake, and Jackson. Yes, it's a combination. And T-Buck. How about that?
So do you feel a year older from all that?
Yes, I do. I actually do feel a year older. I mean, the kids and obviously working, coaching. Obviously, when I talk about coaching, you're basically raising other people's kids, and so I get 4 months of that, and I get the other 8 months to raise my own kids. It's awesome though. It really is awesome. You're getting to see some of these guys go on from the XFL into the NFL. You're giving them that little bit of nugget that they might have needed as far as how to make a team, and then that's parenting in itself.
Well, I got something for you that I think is going to make you a little younger.
Okay.
And I'm gonna declare it right here, right now. I think that the 2023 Miami Hurricanes are going to be significantly improved from what we saw a year ago. Now, I know some people out there couldn't be worse, and they're probably cracking a lot of jokes at the expense. But Lamar, I look at a football team that is bigger, faster, and you've been coaching for a long time and playing for a long time. Usually bigger and faster, just by symbiosis, results in better.
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. When you bring in better players, which I think Mario and that staff has done, they've scoured the earth all over and found players, guys that want to come to the University of Miami for whatever reasons. It makes your team better. We talked off the air coming here. My problem is how are these guys going to gel? That's the big question I have. How are they going to gel when you have guys from, every, other programs and other programs with other things that are important to them? I mean, each program is different, obviously, but to be able to come in and gel, and what I really want to see is what happens when adversity hits. How are these guys going to come together? And that's what hopefully the offseason was for. That's what Mario and his staff are getting the big money for, because they're going to have to pull that together and gel it together. Just when we talked earlier, I talked about guys leaving other programs because they weren't getting playing time. How are they gonna gel if coach says, hey, you're not starting or you're not playing? Are you going to leave again? Are you going to your third or fourth school? Or are you going to stay there and stick it out and be a great teammate to your teammates?
Well, it's a little bit of a transfer portal haul this year, and we'll talk about the culture building and all that. But, you take a guy like Matt Lee, that was a starting center for UCF, who they were able to get to come to Miami. And this guy might be the best center in the country, Lamar. He has just totally transformed the offensive line. You talk about Javion Cohen, who was a starter level player at Alabama, coming in to play guard here at Miami. Then you take a 5-star recruit like a Francis Maigoa, you plug him in at right tackle. You move Jalen Rivers from guard to left tackle, but a big 300 plus pound body out there who's a quality offensive lineman. And then you bring in Nez Cooper, another 300 plus pound guy, back for year 2 at the other guard position. This is a whole new deal this year, Lamar. You don't have Ja'Kai Clark, undersized Ja'Kai Clark, sitting there in the middle getting his butt kicked every week anymore. You don't have John Campbell at left tackle. He's been dispatched to Tennessee. You don't have him sitting there taking himself out of the game in pregame warmups against Florida State because he is afraid to go against Jared Verse. I mean, like this is a whole new deal that they've got going this year. And, we'll talk about the culture building and all the little nuances of that. But Mario has turned 40 roster spots since the end of last season going into the start of this season. And I know there's a whole bunch of hullabaloo about Deion Sanders out of Colorado turning like 70 of his 85 and all that. And that's just absolutely insane. But 40 is a lot, Lamar. Like, that's a half a roster almost.
Hell, I wish we could do that with the XFL, but we'll leave that alone.
You would have liked to do that at mid-season of that 1-9 campaign.
I like to cut all of them. But anyway, the fact that you have all these guys, you're bringing in new guys, hopefully, and we've heard the talk, but we've heard the talk for the last couple of seasons about how the off season has gone. What we're really hoping is that these guys have come here and have bought in to Mario and that staff's culture there. And when stuff does hit the fan, when things aren't going to go great or aren't going good, that they're able to stick together and pull through. Now, one of the first things I said to Coach Mirabal, I said, Coach, man, what's up with the O-line? He raved about that center. So
he's
when I heard him say that, I went and looked him up, and he said, LT, that's leadership. So now you have a leader from another team to come here and hopefully continue to be a leader with everything he's done, and probably by his play out there on Green Tree. And now you have, when things hit the fan, you have somebody who's been there or in a type of situation in big games and say, hey guys, let's get it together. Let's go this route. Let's not lose our cool and get dumb penalties, or let's not quit. So, hopefully they were able to find some leaders in that transfer portal.
Yeah, it took really the first practice that I had the opportunity to watch to really see what Matt Lee is going to bring to the table for this football team. I mean, that leadership element, just like it stuck out like a sore thumb. It was like just the way he was directing guys and with the zeal that he was doing it. And you could tell just from that first practice, even going all the way back to first practice of spring, that these players were going to gravitate to this guy. And again, you've been around football your whole life. Not everybody has that it factor. You had it. You were a leader. Guys gravitated to you. But not everybody has that, Lamar. And it's a really important element of a successful football team.
Well, I tell you what, how you become that leader is, obviously what those other guys see. And it's not just on the field. A lot of it's off the field. You can't be a leader and you out getting pissy drunk and not showing up to practice on time and all that other stuff. You have to be accountable. I mean, you have to be one of those guys as a leader, one of the first ones in the building, one of the last ones to lead. Those are things that get you that respect. They see you going the extra mile. They see you talking the talk and walking the walk. That's how you become a leader, because I'm telling you, and I've seen it, where guys have stepped up and said something, and people are like, bro, you can't say anything. You need to shut up. And that's because they saw right through it. They see what you're doing when you're not, when you're not on the field, or they see what you're doing when everybody's supposed to be studying film, or they see what you're doing when, there's a lot that goes into being a leader. And I'm telling you, when I asked Coach about him, I mean, his little Maribor, I think he got taller when I said that. I think he grew up like 5'3" when I said that.
He got taller when the talent got better in his room.
He got taller, man. I said, dang, Coach, you done got taller? But you about 5'3" now?
He's flying high with some of these guys.
He's excited. He is really excited about that O-line.
Now, what he doesn't have is depth, Lamar. And that's going to be a theme, I think, at a lot of positions, during this rebuild. I mean, we talk about turning 40 guys, but they're not where they will be in another couple years in terms of depth and things like that. I mean, it's going to take more, but just the transformation, I think, is providing a sense of hope for this season. And we'll be talking more about that as the night goes on. But let's bring in our sidekick here, the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, back to the show. Bruce, welcome back to the Lamar Thomas Show. And as the voice of the fan, give us a feel for what you think is the mindset of the fan base going into this season, coming off 5-7 of a year ago, this great transformation that's taken place. What is the mindset of the Canes fan as they get ready to go to Hard Rock Stadium on Friday night?
Well, I would say, first of all, I'm glad to see LT again. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Looking good, man. A little grayer, but looking good.
A little gray.
I watched some of those games. I don't blame you. Look, obviously, there's a lot of excitement. There has to be with the changes that Mario made with the roster and the staff. You know, there's a lot of excitement about our defense, about our offense, the offensive line. We should be able to run the ball this year. I'm looking forward to that. We've got those backs, and I think our offense is going to be really good. But we can't lose linemen. We certainly can't lose Lee. And I expect a big year out of Van Dyke. I really do. I think what he did in the second half of 2 years ago is the way he should be playing this entire season. That would be great because he's got more talent than he had then. Although he had the 2 wide receivers that he relied on, he has more guys now. He's got weapons. He doesn't have to throw the ball deep to take it to the house. He could throw a little pass to Ray, and he's gone. And the same thing with the transfer. Yeah, and you know, and Harold too. These guys can fly. They can flat out fly. So I'm excited about the offense. I'm excited about the defense. But I agree with Gary in his first question. I don't know how these guys are going to mesh. All the guys that we've had on over the years all say the same thing. The offensive line has to gel as a unit. The defensive line has to gel as a unit. Then you got the backers and the secondary. Well, these guys haven't played it down for real together. And you got a lot of new faces. So what are they going to be able to do, at least at the beginning of the season? I think they're going to have to be very physical, which he wants to see. The tackling had better be better. Otherwise, I don't know what to say. But the tackling is, I'm sure it's much better. I can't sit here and predict the record because who knows? Gary and I were talking off the air before. Have you ever seen anything like this? Forget about what Dion did. Lamar, have you ever seen 40 new guys and a practically new coaching staff at one school at the same time?
Yeah, this is uncharted water. I mean, this is what college football is evolving to. You know, but go back to what I said a couple years ago to Mario, when I talked to him on Green Tree, I told him point blank, you're 3 to 4 years away from being that team that you want to be. And he said, why? Why do you say that? I said, because we won championships because of depth. And I explained to him what I meant by depth. We were afraid of the guy behind us. You know, we played 70% of the time, but that 30%, there was no let down. It was it actually got better. And so you won games because of that. You're not going to win game with 22 guys now. Not today's age. You got to have some type of depth where those guys that are behind those starters are hungry and even better and can't wait to get their opportunity. That's why we won back in the day. And that's what hopefully that's what Mario is trying to build there, to get enough guys, get enough ducks in a row. But I told him one of the problems is going to be when you're trying to develop that freshman linebacker and you're developing them. You got a senior and a junior playing in front of them, and you're thinking, okay, this guy's my guy. Well, Southern Miss is going to step in and say, hey, I'll give you $50,000 to be the starter. So, you know, it's going to be how are you going to keep these guys to build that type of depth? That's going to be the biggest question also.
Right. But you guys also had an attitude and a chip on your shoulder, and you had experience. You've come back in games, not that you were trailing that many times. These guys don't have an identity yet. There's no identity on this team as of right this minute, and we're all looking forward to see what that identity is, both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And, of course, we have a new punter. So there's a lot to look forward to that's new, and that's what makes it exciting. Now, the winning is the part that makes everybody happy, and so that's what we're looking for. But I said last night, and I'll say it again, I still think we're going to beat Texas A&M, and I still think we have a shot at running to 5-0 before we play North Carolina. Now, I may be ahead of myself, but I think it's possible. I really do. If what I saw when I was at the practices, how physical these guys were and the attention to detail, everything that Mario wanted to implement last year that he couldn't, I've seen already this year. And that's critical. Do you agree, LT? Gary?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm a 1 week at a time guy. After all the heartache and beating and emotional beatings that we've taken over the last 20 years,
Oh, yeah.
I want to get past Miami of Ohio. I mean, we got to see how Tyler is on Friday night. We got to see how there's going to be the first game jitters and so lots of times teams get off to slow starts on week one and stuff like that. My feeling is let's get through this week one and then worry about Texas A&M. Hey, before we move forward, all you guys that are out there watching on YouTube, feel free to post comments. We will get to them as the show goes forward and comment on some of those. We'd love to see you do that. And they're already starting to come in, so we will start getting to those in a little bit here. But guys, let's kind of go back. Let's go to the beginning here for a moment. And let's start with Mario. Okay, he comes into Miami. There's all kinds of buzz for all the obvious reasons. And we all know how last season went. Okay, now he's going into year two. He's had a chance to turn another 40 spots. I mean, he's turned, I think, like 70 of the 85 spots on the roster in the 19 months that he's been in Coral Gables. If you look at what he did when he got here before the last season, and then what he's done in this offseason. Lamar, let's start with Mario, and what's his mindset now, and is this Mario Cristobal's team at this point?
Well, I think one of the things that he alludes to all the time is, the roster. He didn't think the roster was good, and he didn't know how bad it was until he got here. And so I think what he's tried to do over this time, him and Alonzo Highsmith and Stephen Fields, recruiting coordinator, I mean, they're trying to get players in here that want to be here. I think to turn over the roster, Jimmy Johnson is probably proud right now because that's what he would love to have been able to do that. And for him to go in and do it and say, "Hey, you're probably not going to be here. We want your scholarship," and pissed off a bunch of people, pissed off a bunch of parents down here in South Florida. Some of these guys that weren't good enough to be on the University of Miami's team, but they were there for some reason, and now they're gone. And so he's brought some new players in, some new blood, and just from being down there, the couple of times I've been down there, he's kind of changed the atmosphere as far as, I wouldn't say it was a country club back then, but you can tell it's a lot different. And it's a lot different as far as the movement of the team from drill to drill. There's a lot different of the positive things that are being said, the guys into it. It's entirely different. Now, can that transfer or translate to wins? That's what we all want to see. And I think that's what Gary, we've been the king of the offseason for a minute down here. I think we won the offseason national championship at least 7 times since I've been here. You know what I mean? So to be able to pull this thing together and to get it right, that's what he's here for. That's what, he has Alonzo Highsmith. That's what he has all these people around him to do, to be able to get the right players in here, to be able to coach them up, to be able to get them to understand there's a Miami way, not Miami of Ohio way, but the University of Miami way to do things. And from all the things I've saw, he's on the way. It's just that, again, we have to see game by game, because when I think of Miami of Ohio, the first thing that comes to my mind is Middle Tennessee State. Yeah. Here it is, a team coming in here that has a veteran quarterback. They got a team that's played together, and we got a bunch of all-stars that haven't played together. That concerns me a little bit because, and as I was telling Gary earlier, it's harder to coach a bunch of really, really good guys because than it is to coach a bunch of okay guys, I think. Because when you got all those great guys, they all want the ball. I don't know if they all want to do their job on every play, So you're going to have to figure out how to manage your roster and manage the playing time of these players and get them to buy in, that so when somebody else catches 2 touchdowns, they're still excited and not bitching and moaning and thinking transfer portal again.
Well, I think the attention to detail is significantly better. Significantly better. And the coaches are teaching. I watched it. They're in there. They're not yelling and screaming. They're teaching. So the approach from above down to the players is much different. Again, it doesn't mean we're going to win 10 games, but it does mean that he's on the right track, which is where he wants to be. He has his own map. He might not have our map, but he's got his own plan and his own map. And that's what we have to be excited about. Because Mario didn't sit there and say, well, we'll just coach him up this year. We'll get better. No, he made changes because he knew he had
made changes. He truly made changes on that roster and in that coaching staff. We talked about, there's some new coaches here, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, linebacker coach, receiver coach. He made some changes.
Seven out of the 10 coaches are different in year 2.
Right.
That's good to see, man. I mean,
that's significant, man.
Yeah.
Now,
Gary, but it was important. It had to be done, and Mario didn't hesitate. He just did.
Yeah, but admitting that you made all those mistakes is a lot easier said than done. I mean, not too many guys can admit to that degree and make that many changes, and he did it, and I give him a lot of credit for it because when he took the job, everything came, you're building a whole organization, 100 probably some people, most of whom you're hiring in about a month and a half period of time. You'd like to make them all count. You'd like for them all to be great hires. The reality of it is that's probably not going to happen. But Lamar, all I've ever heard all my years around football is about continuity on coaching staffs and how important that is. Well, now they're going into a new season. They don't have that continuity. All these guys have come together from different places. Tim Harris, coaching the running backs, came from UCF. Shannon Dawson, the OC's from Houston, on and on. Lance Guidry from Marshall. And, I could name them all, but they're all from different places. And now they have to come together as a staff, and you're starting over again in that regard. You've been coaching for a while now. Tell us what that's like.
Well, team-wise, it's the same as coaches. I mean, you got to have some type of continuity. I think for you, what you hit on earlier, as far as him admitting that those guys that he brought in, he chased some names. It got us all excited, but that it didn't work. There's some big names he had on his staff last year, but it didn't work. And for him to say, okay, let's squash this, let's go with some other guys and let's start over. And let's see if we can bring some fresher blood in here, and let's see what happens. That I'm sure that took a lot because every time I've talked to him, when he talks about when he got the job, he didn't know it was that bad. He had no idea. He really brings that up all the time. Man, LT, I had no idea. So now he has an idea. He's changed that staff. He's brought some new players in. He's gotten rid of a lot of the old guys and hopefully got rid of the attitudes that might have still been there. And hopefully these guys buy into it. And on that staff, you got to be able to work together. You got to be able to trust each other. Every guy has to feel like the other guy is doing his job and even better. And when that doesn't happen, when you have guys, you look at them and they're not carrying their weight recruiting or they're not coaching their guys, it causes strife in the meeting room.
So let me ask you this, LT. So when we watch you guys play, and I think this is a learning experience. I think for Mario and the staff, we knew what Lamar Thomas could bring. We knew what Darryl Spencer. We knew what High C could do. We knew what Stephen McGuire could do. We know what Leon could do. We knew what Darren Smith. We knew all of that. I don't know if they know what these guys can do. They haven't really seen it yet. So it's kind of a learning experience for the coaching staff as well. What do you think?
Well, it's definitely a learning experience because you know what we could do because we've been there. We redshirted. We sat there. You saw us grow up, and you saw us, our names in the paper going, hey, this guy might be somebody one day. He's making plays on a scout team, or somebody say, hey, man, that one kid over there, man, he's pretty good. He's on the scout team right now, but watch out for him. Or Gino Toretta, man, he's man, he's pretty good for a freshman. So these are things that now you don't really get to see, but obviously they're talked up because of this whole recruiting thing now and the NIL deal. So they are talked up, but you got to understand, once you get to the next level, things change a little bit. You gotta. Some of these guys have probably found out that through this process and they're probably thinking in their heads at some point, am I really as good as I think I am?
And we'll find out. They do have a lot of weapons, though. They do have a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this element of it. Friday night, 7 o'clock, it's go time. Okay, this is the first game that this coaching staff has coached together. How big of a deal is that, Lamar?
Big deal. Anytime the opening game, I mean, it's a big deal, man. It's
the adjustments, the chemistry.
That's what it boils down to. You see a lot about guys, just like you see it players when shit hits the fan, when adversity hits. You talked about earlier about guys yelling. I always believe when guys yell a lot, they don't know anything. They're just yelling. They're just yelling to bark. And you see that sometimes. But hopefully this staff. I know a lot of guys on this new staff. I coached with Derek. He was at Louisville with me. He's a linebacker coach. Obviously playing alongside JT, Dolphins. Hell, I went to a lot of games and watched running backs coach over at Booker T. Know his dad. Coach Harris. He's been in the game for a while. South Florida, he really, people down here really embrace him. They got a bunch of coaches that have been coaching for a while, that are good coaches, and if they all can come together, we might have something special, because that might be the it that takes it over the top as far as, again, how do those guys, those kids, those NIL kids that are making the money, how do they gel when stuff isn't going well? Or do they turn into the same guy that transferred for a while because you didn't play over here? It's going to be interesting to see how this happens.
All right, let's talk about, I'll say the elephant in the room a little bit, because the wide receiver job came open while you were up in Orlando coaching with the Guardians. And you went up to Orlando to be the assistant head coach to Terrell Buckley. And people are already asking, like Ian Coleman here is posting in the comments, Lamar needs to take Ray under the wing. Jason C is saying, Lamar, let us know what you think about the wide receivers and Coach Beard. And when I spoke to KB, one of the first times I spoke to him since he got the job, he brought you up. And he talked about how influential that you were to him as a player, as a mentor, and preparing him for things like going up to Tallahassee and playing at Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium and things like that. And all you guys that have played receiver at Miami, Leonard Hankerson, who's now with the San Francisco 49ers, and a lot of you guys have gotten into coaching. And there's only one wide receiver job at Miami. And I know, I've known you for a long time, and as well as KB and some others, you threw your hat in the ring. You were kind of distracted at the time, but you did have an interview, and you were part of the process. And then you didn't get the job, and now you have to support Kevin Beard. Talk to us a little bit about all of that. Unwrap it for us from your viewpoint, and just what goes through your mind.
Well, let's go back all the way back to when the receiver job came open. I watched it from afar. I kind of kind of stayed in my lane, continued doing my coaching job out there in Texas, in Arlington, coaching with the Guardians. That's where we were stationed. But I got a text from Mario, and saying hello, and how you doing? And I was like, cool. And we just started kind of texting back and forth, and somehow it came up, and I said, well, hey Mario, I don't want to be involved if it's some type of token interview. I've done that twice. No, 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 it won't be that. And so I went through the process with those guys, 2 long Zoom calls with Mario, and sat and talked to the offensive coordinator 2 times, and I thought it went well, but they chose KB, who I'm 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 very happy for him because I know him and I know what type of person and what type of coach he is, and so if there was any type of moral victory or something that I could say, well, hey, I lost to a guy that deserves the job. You know what I mean? And I think the world of the guy. We've always been good friends. And, it's funny. Every time this job has come open, him and I have talked. Like you getting it? I don't know. You getting it? I don't know. So I mean, but it was great. I was happy for him. I know that one of the things that probably set him over the edge was the fact that he does have a he does have a relationship with some of those guys, especially some of those receivers from Chaminade and stuff like that. And so, hey, you got to go with what's going to be the best for your program. And I told Mario, hey man, I'm excited about KB. I'll help him in any way I can. I got a couple months. I'm sitting around. If he needs me to come down and help him and look at some things, I will, because I want to see this program, like anything, whether I was in the program or not in the program, I want to see the program succeed. And I think KB gives us a great opportunity. Watching him, those kids really listen to him. He's a technician. His work, he does a lot of drill work. I watched, not throwing the other guy under the bus, but it's night and day watching KB do his thing and watching the other guy do his thing. That's not with the program anymore. So I think the receivers will play well. I think that he gives them a great opportunity as far as, he's not going to curse them out. He's going to talk to them like a young man. He's a very spiritual young man, and I think they'll play. Well. He has some weapons. When I went down to the Legends camp, that was the first time I saw him since, obviously the decision was made. We hugged, we embraced, and I told him congratulations. And, I just said, hey, man, one day, man, maybe one day I get it, but he'll do well. I'm very excited because I know he's going to do what I wanted to do as far as it's different when you're coaching at a Kentucky, or it's different when you're coaching at a Toledo. It means something to you because it's your job, but does it really hit home? I mean, I'm sitting in there looking, Kentucky lost to Georgia, but Miami beat Boston College. I'm a little excited. I'm a little mad we lost, but I'm a little excited my school won. And if I was there, if I was in the program, if we lost, I'd be a little pissed off. Not like in Kentucky, hey, I was a little upset, but not pissed off. Because it means something to KB. It means something to those guys that played at the University of Miami to be in that staff in a way, like Roland, Mike Rump, all those guys that went to school there, that walked those hallways. It means something. Mario, it means something to you. It's not just a walk in the park. It's not just, okay, we lost. No, you got to go and sit and think about it. You went to school there. It's a part of you, and I think that Mario made a wise choice, and I'm excited about the choices that he made.
I think there's a respect factor too. I don't think they respected last year's coaches. I might be wrong, but I don't think they did. I don't even think those coaches related to these players. These guys apparently do.
Well, I mean, and the other thing is that I think we got to look at, I hope Lamar we haven't lost them, but there you are. So there was more, there were at least, there were at least 3 of you guys there, Lamar. And Mario's got to pick one. You okay? You okay with your sound, LP?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure the sound out.
Something went a little haywire there for a second.
And figure it out.
You look better upside down.
Yeah.
Everything is new.
What's going on?
Everything is new. Let's see what we do.
You good?
Okay, can I hear you now, Gary?
Yeah, we can hear you. All right. So there were three of you guys sitting there, and Mario can only pick one. Okay, and there might have been more than three, but there were at least three that I knew of, and he can only pick one of you guys, and two are going to be upset, and I know this stuff hits you hard, and I still believe that there will come the day where you will be back in that building, but I think it's a credit to everybody that like you're sitting here and you're rallying around KB, and you'll do anything you can to help him, and that's what's made Miami so great, through the years. I mean, everybody who played would love to be a coach there.
Yes.
And everybody can't be all at the same time. So, I give Mario credit for giving the job to a Hurricane, which is very, very significant. I mean, you've got all these great receivers that are in coaching. And I give you credit because, as disappointing as I know it was for you, you're still very supportive of KB and obviously everything that they're doing on offense.
Gary, regardless of anything, I mean, I'm still a Cane. So, it's just like someone told me a long time ago when I was upset about the whole Manny Diaz thing. They told me, man, don't be upset because regardless, when Manny Diaz is long gone, you still a Hurricane. So you can't, it is what it is, man. You got to support your school regardless. And I think that was great advice because regardless, I could be as mad as I want to, but I'm still going to peek and see what the Hurricanes are doing because I got the tattoo, I wear the gear, I got the ring. I mean, hey, I'm known for the University of Miami, so it is what it is.
All right. Speaking of former Canes, we're going to be joined shortly by another former Cane, Kelvin Harris, who's going to come on the show and impart us with all of his wisdom, which is most likely to include the Canes going 12-0 in this football season that starts Friday night. We call him Kelvin 12-0 Harris. We'll get to him in a moment. But let me take a moment. You see the store behind Lamar. You see the pictures behind me. The Lamar Thomas Show is once again presented by Keynesware this year. And let me just take a moment here, guys, and tell everybody about Keynesware since football season is here. And Keynesware in Davie, they have opened a much larger store in the same shopping plaza that you have become accustomed to visiting throughout the past several years. And at Keynesware, they have the largest selection of Miami Hurricanes gear in town, more gear than you ever could imagine. Season starts Friday. You want to be all decked out in the latest and greatest Cane stuff? Well, Keynesware has T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets. Am I leaving anything out? There's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of stuff.
I have a wallet from there.
Oh, yeah, even a wallet. You can get yourself a new Canes wallet at Keynesware. If you're planning your tailgate, your first one of the season for Friday night, you can go by Keynesware. They have tents and tables and chairs for your tailgating needs. With the season starting this week, it is a great time to hit Keynesware. And they'll even help you get ready for Dolphin season. They have tons of Dolphin stuff with Messi at Inter Miami. You can go in there and buy Messi T-shirts. They'll have jerseys, I think Brett told me, in October. So you get your Inter Miami gear, which is really the hottest gear in the world right now. Everybody is like loading up on Messi stuff. They put a pop-up Messi store on South Beach. LT, I don't know what is going on with your visual there, but it has gone haywire. Wait, let me get this straightened down, and I'll finish. What is going on? All right, you're back. The internet connection at Keynesware is good too, right, Lamar?
Yes, it's great. It's actually great. I just had to switch from a phone interview to a computer interview. It's the first night. Hey, remember the first show we had a couple years ago? My computer crashed.
I remember that.
Ago. So I was the first, 5 minutes you guys were talking crap about me.
That's right. I remember that.
Rightfully so. Hey, you know what's great about the store, Gary? The people that work there. Brett and all those guys. The store is great. The merchandise is incredible, but they're the nicest people. So you want to go there because they treat you like you're a king because you're a king.
They're nice.
No doubt about it. Yeah, which gets me to where I was going with this. You know, Keynesware is more than just a store. It is an experience. And in this new expanded location, they have the largest selection of Miami Hurricane stuff in town. Like I said, just about anything you could want, you can get at Keynesware. So go to the game Friday, all decked out in some new stuff. If you're here in South Florida, stop at Keynesware on your way to the stadium. They'll get you ready for game day. They're at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. That's 2655 South University Drive in Davie. And if you're hungry when you go to Keynesware, you can go next door over to La Spada, and they'll sell you the biggest, fattest sub you've ever eaten in your life. We'll have to tell Brett, make sure La Spada gives them a little commission on that plug we just gave him. But Keynesware is also always open at Keynesware.com. You could shop their entire store online. So whether you go in person to 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or you shop online at Keynesware.com, Keynesware has you covered for all of your Canes needs this football season. And you see Lamar sitting there in the store. He's got his Canes football. He's got his hat. He's got his Keynesware T-shirt. Loving life.
How come he's not eating? This is the first show he hasn't been eating.
Well, the first show, man. I'm just, I came in hot.
I'm working on that. I'm trying to get La Spada to send you over a sub.
I came in hot, so it's the first show, man. Next week, woo, boy, it's gonna be the die for. But this week we came in hot, so hopefully I won't have what was it my wife had to go to tonight? It was the PTA meeting or open house. That's what it was. Open house for a first grader. Really?
I bet you were happy you had a show to come do.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Excited.
All right, hey, before we get to Kelvin and hear about how the team's going to go 12-0 this year.
15-0. He's changed it, Gary. It's 15-0 now.
Oh, we're 15-0. Kelvin 15-0. Harris. All right.
I say he said we lose 2 games. Watch.
He probably will.
No chance. No chance.
I'm just saying, bro.
When the team was horrendous, he said they were going 12-0. Now they're getting a little bit better. The O-line looks like an O-line. We have a center that will remind us of Kelvin Harris. I mean, things are looking up, Lamar.
I knew he was on something stronger than fentanyl when he said that we were going to beat Alabama.
A couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, we're going to beat Alabama. They're not as good as they. I'm like, come on, man, relax, bro, relax. Let's worry about the games after Alabama. All right, let's not worry about it.
Let him do his comedy routine when he comes on the show in a few minutes.
All right, but first let's talk about this turnover on the roster. And guys are asking on the messages. It's continued. They're already getting ready to start the season Friday. This turnover is continuing today. We had the announcement, I guess I'll call it, a couple hours ago, that Jamil Burroughs, a defensive tackle from Alabama, a guy that was a highly regarded recruit, who got into a little bit of an issue up there at Bama. There was something going on at one of the dorms or residences. An assistant strength coach came and tried to deal with the situation, and I'm not going to go too deep into details because everything I've heard is secondhand, and I don't want to relay the wrong info. But there was something that went on in Alabama, and he was going to have to leave Bama, either through dismissal by Nick Saban or his own choice, or something in the middle. And he went into the transfer portal. Okay, and this was several months ago, back in the spring, and he just got around to picking a school, and he suddenly appears in Miami football headquarters, and he is now a member of the Miami Hurricanes. This is an Alabama defensive tackle. His teammates say he's one of the best pass rushers in the country. We'll see how that works out. Probably not going to be able to play this year, but I think what this shows is that Mario Cristobal is not going to stop improving this roster, and he'll take a chance on a guy that maybe things didn't go right in another school. In this case, it's Bama. If he needs to and he'll give him a second chance if it's going to improve his roster and his football team, because he is on a race against time trying to get the Miami Hurricanes back to being the Miami Hurricanes again. 41 roster spots
That's almost
have turned over since the end of last season. Lamar, your thoughts?
That's a lot of new teammates. Obviously, if the guy can play, Mario went after him. Hopefully he can play.
Hey, Gary, let me ask a question, because I don't know if LT knows much about this. Neither do I, because you guys just broke this story a while ago. But is there a difference between being dismissed by Saban and him saying, I'm out of here, I'm going into the transfer portal, in terms of eligibility? I think all these guys that are listening and watching want to know. Do you know?
There was a rule, you could transfer, I think, one time without having to sit out. So that's one rule. How the semantics of being dismissed play into eligibility, I'm not sure. I know that they're trying hard to appeal to get him eligible immediately. He's got 2 years to play, I believe. So they're going to exhaust every avenue to try to get the NCAA to say he could play this year. What I was told today was that as of right now, it does not look like he'll play this year, but he will have 2 years. He'll have at least 2 years if he wants them after this. Either way, I think it's fine. I mean, you've got a bunch of players that have been working out now for getting ready for this season very hard for 8 months that are looking forward to playing football this fall. I'm not sure it's the greatest time to just bring this guy in from Alabama and say, hey, all you guys that have been with us all along are going to sit out now, and we're going to throw him out there on the field.
Well, that's life.
Now, just so you know, he's going to be down. He's going to be in school at the University of Miami, where he just came from Alabama, and he is going to be introduced to South Florida. We don't know if it's going to work out. I mean, hopefully, that's always hard. We had some prop guys when I was in school on their own Prop 48. We had to make sure we kept them involved, because when you're not with the team, you can go the wrong path. And so we had to make sure in certain ways we kept them involved. So, this ain't Tuscaloosa. This is South Florida. There's a lot to get into that's not positive down here. And hopefully those leaders on that team will kind of show him the way.
We're getting mixed signals from the different comments about whether he's eligible or not. I'm going to have to look into this.
I was told he is not eligible. Now, I have not looked into it.
You're allowed to transfer. I don't. If he didn't transfer, and
he didn't. Well, he definitely did not do it. There's a window.
Right.
There's a defined window that you have to transfer within. He didn't transfer within that window. Okay, so
if he got dismissed, what does that mean? Can he come to another school? I guess listen, I don't think Miami's giving up on this. I think they're going to really delve into this.
No, they're definitely not giving up on this. They're trying hard to get him eligible for this season. But what I was told today was, as of now, he is not eligible for this season.
Right, as of now. I agree with that.
As of now.
I agree with that. But I also look at the schedule and I say the back end is a lot tougher than the front end. So if we can get him in here, even if he misses a couple of games, whatever, they could use this guy. I wouldn't want to just push him off to next year. Now, I want him to try to play this year.
Yeah, if you can have him for the ACC schedule this year and then all of next year.
Yep.
Playing next to Leonard Taylor.
Playing next to Leonard Taylor. What happened to the one guy that transferred that played next to Leonard Taylor? Number 9, I think it was. 8, something. That didn't he transfer to Florida State?
He
can't even play this year.
Declared ineligible at Florida State for some reason. Yeah,
so did we take him back?
No, they're not taking him. There's no chance they're taking that guy back.
What?
No, he's sitting on the sidelines up in Florida State.
Oh, man. That guy was pretty good, too.
What's his name, Jackson?
He kept a lot of pressure off of LT. Kept a lot of pressure off. It's hard for me to call it.
That's the guy we ought to talk about. You're an offensive guy, but this is a guy who's been there 2 years, and he admitted that he really wasn't busting his behind. 2 years, and now all of a sudden he's a blue chip All-American and a top 20 pick. Based on what? I mean, I like him.
Mel Kiper has him projected to go number 13 in the first round.
Yes. Based on what?
Bruce, I am with you 100%. I'm baffled by some of the, like, and people jumped on me a little bit. And Lamar, we're going to talk about this later in the show because I know you have some opinions about.
And James Williams too. They're talking about a first round pick.
Well, Cam Kinchins is an All-American, and Lamar and I were talking earlier, and he's got some very pointed things to say about this topic of defensive back play at Miami last year, and we'll get into that later in the show. But and it's built around the fact that you see DJ Ivey and Tyreek Stevenson excelling in an NFL camp after not really excelling as corners at Miami, and some people are saying, well, the safety play might have had something to do with that as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's just finish this topic of all this transition and roster turnover. Now 41 guys. Lamar, what's it like pulling together a football team with 41 new faces?
I mean, had to go through it in the XFL. Those guys. You're trying to gel a team and try to get them to gel together. 40. It was 50. I think it was 52 new faces. So I can only imagine to be on a college team where there are 40 new guys. Like, that's crazy. Like you get what, 20 new freshmen, incoming freshmen. You get 40 some new guys to learn, and some of them ain't freshmen. So now you got to make sure that you don't disrespect them by talking to them like they are freshmen. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm a senior, bro. Actually, I'm a 7th year senior.
or in the tight ends. This is his 8th year.
Super duper senior.
He's an 8th year.
8 years.
See, I know that if I was playing, I would have got COVID like 9 times. I probably would have still been in college.
And you know what, LT, though? But despite the fact that there's 40, now 41, some of those guys they wanted and they plugged them right in. Like Cohen, like Lee, like the linebacker Malago, the Francisco. There's guys in there that they specifically targeted. They got it, and they knew they were going to be playing a certain spot. So there's somewhat of a difference. I think they kind of know who's going to be on the bench and who's going to be playing a lot.
But this guy could be a bonus for it. Hey, this could add to the depth. When we talk about depth, if he can't play this year, at least we have him for next year. You know what I mean? So,
Speaking of depth, I'll make one comment. I think everybody should agree with this. If we lose Van Dyke, if something happens to him, you could talk all you want about Brown. You could talk all you want about Williams. If he goes down, we're screwed. He really is the straw that stirs this drink. That's for darn sure. They can't lose him.
Yeah, that's a good
depth problem.
That when you lose your guy, your number one quarterback, that's a big one. Especially when there are a lot of he's kind of being mentioned in the bottom half of the Heisman race. So he's supposed to have an exceptional year this year. So I'm actually I want to see it. I want to see this guy play like he played a couple years ago when he felt comfortable.
Yeah,
I want him to feel comfortable, and hopefully this new offense it gives you it spreads you out. It's not the Michigan run first offense. This is spread you out where you can actually see who's open, take what they give you, complete the ball, and keep
make them
going.
adjust. Make them
it's
adjust.
A fast-paced type of deal. Make the adjustment. Correct. Make them adjust.
Make them adjust to us. Everything was ass backwards the last couple of years. Even on defense, it was backwards. But anyway, that's my piece. I think that this guy is going to have a spectacular year. Forget about Heisman's and draft picks. I understand because I've seen it too, and I guess Gary has. He's become more of a vocal leader. He really has improved himself in that everybody now rallies around him, because there was a time a year ago with all this NIL stuff, and he's got this and he's got that. He had a million things happening in his life. He's focused. That's really important. He's focused.
Hey, didn't we have him on the show before? Did we have him on the show before again? I thought we had him on.
I don't think so.
Didn't?
No.
We had the tight end
I'm talking about
on.
Bernie Kosar.
All right, guys. Well, he's in the building.
Uh-oh.
He's in the waiting room. So you guys ready for what we're about to spring upon the fans here on the Lamar Thomas Show season debut?
He's complaining.
You ready?
To me.
You ready, LT?
15 minutes. Yeah, I'm ready, man. He's complaining. Sending me
All
text
right.
messages.
Already?
Let's go.
All right. Well,
that's what he does.
then let's do it. Without further ado, we bring in
The guy from the 30 for 30. Look
Kelvin.
at him.
Hey,
This is the guy from the 30 for 30. Look at him.
look what he looks like. Can't you get dressed up for the show, man?
How thick
the
are
hell
those
are you
glasses?
wearing?
How thick are those glasses? Holy good moly. Did you get them from Joe Park?
Hey, these are standard Publix glasses, so hey.
You didn't tell us you were going to dance like a you were going to dress like a dancer at Tootsie's or
Dress
something.
down for us? You didn't dress up for us, bro?
Yeah, I got on my prison outfit.
Oh my God, bro! What?
So
I mean-
let's get the show on the road. 15 and
let's
0.
go, man. Let's get first. Kelvin Harris. In case you didn't know, Kelvin Harris, the center. Well, he came in as a linebacker. He was 240 pounds, 6'2".
I was lied to.
6'2", 240. He came in as a linebacker from Fort Myers, same home place as Deion Sanders. He actually would watch Deion Sanders bike. That's how he made extra money. Came to University of Miami, and he was told he was going to play linebacker, but we realized he was too small, and he switched to center because he primarily, and this is what I was told by the quarterbacks. He loved the quarterbacks being under center. He didn't like shotgun. He wanted the hand-to-hand touching on his butt, so he moved to center. So nice to have you, Kevin. Sweet nasty.
Yeah, I like the way you redirect the history there. But hey, anything for viewership.
Somebody said they thought you were Warren Sapp.
Wow.
So Kevin, man, let's dig right into it, bro. All right, you know the Canes better than anybody because you are a Cane. I thought I was one of the biggest Canes fans ever, but no, you are.
He's right there.
The past, you have made some idiotic.
I would have died.
We were supposed to go 12-0 last year. That didn't happen. Okay, so I'm asking you, let's start the whole conversation out right now. What will the Canes record be at the end of the season?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say this. I underestimated the will to win compared to having the talent to win in a lot of these situations. And 2 years ago, because I used to talk to DVD all the time, I kind of mentored DVD. And I remember him saying something to me that was a red flag. He said, yeah, Al Blaisdell missed the meetings last couple of days. And I was like, what you mean missed meetings? I mean, Lamar, you know this. Nobody under Coach Johnson would even think about being late to a meeting, but miss a meeting? That's your scholarship. And so when I saw that the inmates was running the asylum, that's when I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This, and then last year, Manny Navarro told me something a few weeks ago that I thought was unbelievable. He said there was some kids on the team last year that didn't really buy in because they didn't think Mario was going to be around.
What?
I was like, he signed an $80 million contract. And it's like, yeah, but these kids, they seen so much coach turnover. They just thought he was just bumping his gums. So what Mario did is he went out, and sometimes you got to kill somebody to get the attention of everybody else. So he went and shot some people in the head, and now everybody else is like, whoa, he really will shoot you in the head. And, like you said, he turned the roster over, and he got kids in there who want to be there instead of kids who think they're entitled to be there. And I think that, case in point, the kid that came from Luke's school, in the spring, he would come out early and catch 500 balls from the jugs. And when he first started doing it, apparently he was the only one doing it. But after a few days, he had the other wide receivers doing it too, because they started saying, well,
yo, he might take my job. And that's what Lamar noticed. That's what Jimmy's thing was. He had you paranoid to miss a practice because you might not get your spot back. And that's kind of in my conversations with Mario, he wanted to get back to that. And looking at the schedule,
Ray is still catching 500 balls after practice or something like that. He didn't just try to show somebody in the spring. That's his MO.
Yeah, that's who he is
as a freshman, because he's got it up here.
Yeah, and that's them the kind of guys we had, and them the kind of guys he wanted to get back. Because I've been involved, talking to Mario through this whole thing, and he made a statement to me one night. He said, "I left $40 million on the table to come back to this because I just couldn't take it anymore." Right. And at the point in time, I didn't know what he meant, but what he meant was he's getting $8 million a year. Phil Knight offered him $12 million a year for 10 years, and that's why Phil Knight was so pissed off, because I think, want to understand, for what the Oregon guy told me, Mario, in a sense, agreed to it, but never signed the contract because he really wanted to come back because his mother was sick and his in-laws were just tired of. They could never catch one of the things that we don't look at is his in-laws, his wife's parents live in Atlanta. They could never catch a straight through flight from Atlanta to Oregon. And so now they can get on flight, every 45, 30 minutes to go from Atlanta to Miami. So it just, it was just, he wanted to come back. But what Lamar said earlier, Mario said to me, he said, "Kelvin, I didn't know it was this bad." He said that to me.
Everybody's been saying. Leon called me up one day and he was talking to Mario and he told him the same thing in spring last year. He says it wasn't just how bad they were. He told Leon they don't know how to work. They didn't know how to work. They weren't working hard.
Listen, he's
not even having the talent.
Listen, now over the summer when he first got here going in, I would get like these crazy calls, like just out of the blue. Like if I see fucking Manny, what's his name? Diaz, I'm gonna whoop his ass. I can't believe he left this place like this. And I was like, okay. And then, he called back later. It's like, oh God, you just understand. It's not just on the field. It's in administration. Because I don't know, I guess the paperwork, everything was messed up. He said he just couldn't believe how bad it was. And
other people, over his head, and he should not have been here. He should have been in Temple, and he shouldn't have been here. That's the bottom line. We all knew it. Gary knew it.
Well, I understood what Mark was trying to do, but what really made it bad was when Manny went into his last year, he knew he was on the hot seat, and he did what some coaches do when they feeling the pressure. They take the pressure off the players because they need guys to perform for them to keep the job. That's why you let guys miss practice and you don't drop the hammer on them. Right. I mean,
but he also wanted to be their friend and their coach, and that was not what Jimmy did or Butch did. Or that's not what they did, and it's not going to work down here. It's just not.
Well, I said
he knew it before, but still, I think he's turned it around. And to me, as the voice of the fan, this team's on its way up. I don't think there's any more mediocrity. We might not win 10 games this year, but
we're definitely on the way up. And to be honest with you, Coach Erickson, Lamar can speak to this because he was a receiver. Coach Erickson was kind of like your uncle. I mean, he wasn't no disciplinarian. I mean, we didn't disrespect him. I mean, because he would at some point get upset, but he was like the complete opposite of Coach Johnson, because Lamar had Coach Johnson for 1 year. I had him for 2. That guy was treacherous. I mean,
remember I had him with the Dolphins too now.
And then, you had him with the Dolphins. I mean, y'all had y'all situation. But we are definitely looking up. He got rid of all the bad apples, and it's funny because him and I grew up with Dion. I'm watching what Dion's doing in Colorado, and they doing the exact same thing. They came in and they just uprooted, and you got to go. And there's definitely some hurt feelings out there in Colorado from some of the old parents. They feel like it's just not fair. But hey, college football is a business, and so I look at our schedule. And on my preview podcast for the season, I got us going 10-2.
Yeah. Well, that's
10-2. What happened to 12-0?
I mean, come on. And I said this on the podcast because I did it with Manny Navarro. I said, I can't in good conscience say we're going to beat Clemson when we haven't beaten Clemson in forever. And we got dragged by Florida State. They bringing 19 people back, and we playing them at Florida State. So I can't in good conscience say we're going to beat them. Now, Manny Navarro, he predicted 9-3, 8-4, because he thinks that we could slip up and lose the NC State game. Now, I had 4 what I call toss-up games: Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Texas A&M. North Carolina doesn't have a great receiving crew. The guy that was their best receiver in the spring was a transfer from Charlotte. NCAA stoned him in the hole and rejected him because they said it was his second transfer, when technically Carolina was saying it wasn't, because he was at, I think, Johnson C. Smith. He never played ball. He transferred before the semester was over to Charlotte, but the NCAA counted it. And he was their best receiver in spring. So they got a super quarterback. Drake May and Caleb Williams are the first 2 picks in the draft. Drake May is throwing to you, Bruce, and that's the difference in the game against Carolina.
Right. I don't disagree. I'm telling you, I think we could beat that team. I said last night, Gary knows, I think we're going to beat A&M, and I think we're going to beat North Carolina. I really do. Now, could we slip up at NC State? It's a road game. It could be, but I think
is anybody talking about Miami of Ohio? We need.
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a minute.
I agree.
I'm gonna get to that. The Miami of Ohio is returning, I believe, 18 people. I know they're returning
defense.
Yeah, they're returning 9 guys on defense. Yeah, they got a couple of decent ball players. They play good. They had 22 turnovers last year. They were Johnny on the spot when it comes to turnovers. Thing about it is, because I watched MAC football last year. I mean, come on, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, ain't nothing else on.
Well, hell, you should have been playing in the MAC. That's what type of player you were. MAC action. That's what you were.
Listen. I don't know. I think everybody needs to know, if Doyle Aaron doesn't flame out and join the Kappas, we never hear of Lamar Thomas. We never hear Lamar Thomas. You should be paying Doyle some money.
You watch the MAC talking about, man, I think I still can dominate. I think I still can play.
Hey, well, the thing about it is, Miami of Ohio, they got a pretty decent quarterback. They got Blaine Gabber's brother. I mean, he's okay. They're okay. But I don't see us losing the game.
Neither do I.
Now, the question I have, and I brought this up earlier, what happens when adversity hits? Because here's the thing. Obviously, when we got to school and we kind of grew on each other.
Yeah.
But that took time. It took time.
Well, remember Coach Johnson, and think about this, Lamar. I think I told you this before. I never understood the stations that we did in the spring give Bruce and Gary a backdrop. In the spring, you have conditioning, drills. So we would have 7 stations, 6 minutes each. And then after we ran the stations, we would run either 110s or 60s. And so I remember this is the year before Lamar got there, when he had signed in the spring after we won the championship in '87. So that first day we did the stations, we did the 6 stations, 7 minutes. So then he calls us up and said, all right, we're going to run 8 110s, to finish it. We go up and back. We run 2. We on the line. We come across the line for the second one. All of a sudden, he says, Jimmy Jones, you didn't make it. Jimmy Jones was the first D lineman across the line. They add 2 110s. They keep adding 110s. We're up to 14 110s. Randall Hill falls out. Everybody looks around like, whoa. Because Randall Hill and then Kenny Berry falls out on the next 110. So now we all panicked. And we're up to like 16. But we had a rule, and Lamar will tell you this, you couldn't bend over. You couldn't put your hands on your knees. So what started happening is, because it's 3:00 in the afternoon, it's 80-some degrees, we started going back to back. Like we would lean up against each other. And what I realized years later is that it wasn't just about conditioning. He was building team camaraderie because you didn't care who you was back to back against. You just had to get against somebody to get you some breath. So it made us all.
But that guy you leaned up against, that was your brother.
Yeah.
That was your brother, because anywhere else outside of there, if you saw him in something, you were gonna lean on him. I mean, we became brothers at that point through all the, like when we talk about Green Tree, we became brothers on Green Tree because it was tough.
But you guys developed mental toughness from that too. That's what Jimmy was all about, mental toughness.
And that's what Mario's trying to
get. And to what Lamar just said, having the conversations that I've had with Mario's whole mindset is he wants to recreate what we had at UM. But it's not going to be the same because this generation of kid
is different.
Totally different. Like I give an example. I got a homeboy that coached DBs at Kansas State. So they get this transfer kid in, and their coach is big. You know, they real kind of prudish. So I don't know what made the coach ask the kid. He says, "Listen, you don't smoke weed, do you? Because we ain't about that." And the kid said, "Oh yeah, every day." He said this to the head coach. I was like, wow. But at this point, he already got a scholarship. What are they gonna do? And he was a good ball player. So
NIL money on the side.
Oh yeah. But the reason why I say we're gonna go, I got us attended to is the NC State game could be a trap game, and obviously we got the 4 toss-up games: A&M, Florida State, Carolina, Clemson. All right, like I said, we haven't beat Clemson in forever, so I can't in good conscience say we're gonna beat Clemson, even though we do play them at home. And then Florida State dragged us through the mud. They got 19 people back. They got the best pass rusher in the country, Jordan Travis. For whatever reason, nobody thinks that guy's going to be a pro quarterback. Like, I talked to Gino about it. I talked to a couple scouts about it. They don't like him. But he makes plays in college.
But he's the head of the snake. If somebody can take him out.
He's in control of that offense. He is definitely in control of that offense.
Yes. But I'll say this. What makes us 9-3, 10-2 is what Mario and Mirabal did with the offensive line and what they did with the defensive line. We got 3 legitimate pass rushers in Messidor, Najee Kelly, Jafari Harvey. 4, and Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain, right.
Yeah. Then we have arguably the biggest freak in the country at right tackle, Malgoa. He's a monster. I mean, 342 pounds, 18% body fat. 600-pound squat. But on top of that, he's got great feet. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to go down as one of our best offensive tackles ever. And then Jalen Rivers was forced to play left tackle because of what happened with Zion. But he's 6'5", 335. So you got 335 at one tackle, 342 at the other. You got a guard that started like 18 games at Alabama. The other guard has lost weight and is down to 350. And then your center was the best center in the portal, who is an exceptional athlete and really smart. And then he started over 30 games. So right there is where you can. And then we got the new Alonzo Highsmith and Mark Fletcher. Mm. He'll be the starter before the year's over.
Where's Parrish? We haven't heard much from Parrish.
Huh?
We haven't heard much from Parrish. Where's Parrish?
They say he's had a good camp, but they also say Don Chaney has not gotten hurt, and he's had a good camp. So we got we got 4. Remember the kid from was it Louisville or wherever? AJ Allen.
Yeah, Nebraska.
He had a great scrimmage.
Yeah, he's good.
But the key is going to be Lamar's position. Kobe Young lost 15 pounds. And I got to be honest with you, he looks a lot better wearing number 4 than that number he had last year. He looked like an actual legitimate receiver threat. Last year, he just looked like some guy that was a he looked like a camp body in a pro camp. And then they said Jacoby George I think he's the wild card. Mm-hmm. If he plays up to his potential, And then Ray, you got Restrepo. All he does is catch passes.
Harrell, transfer
Yeah.
to Alabama. And I think Brashard Smith may be like on the outside looking in a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, you know what? He hasn't something missing.
Yeah, there's something missing. He doesn't get past the line of scrimmage. He's dropping balls. I didn't see a lot from him, but he does have some speed, but I don't think he's got blazing speed.
Well, we don't really have too many tight ends, so you're gonna see a lot of 4 wide out packages. But to be honest with you, I would like what people don't understand is if you go 4 wides and you thin that box out, now you can run inside zone all day.
Yep.
Well,
Hey, I have a question for you guys. It might not be a popular topic, but it is coming from the voice of the fan. There's a lot of people are concerned whether Mario really is a good game day coach. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I do. There's a lot of it's been going on since Oregon, and now he's here. Is that a concern for you guys? No one wants to say anything, but
I mean, he don't. Well,
what he's done is he's put a good staff around him. And I think for the most part, Mario is a lineman. I mean, you listen to it. He is a effort coach. He's talking about effort in his press conference. He's talking effort. He's talking about things that he ain't really going. He's not an X and O guy type. That's what his assistants are for. But he is about effort. If you're doing the right thing and you're putting forth the effort, we should freaking win. If you're trying to mash a guy across from you and you're doing your job and you're throwing his ass on the ground, that's what he's about. And he's about winning the one-on-one battles, the effort. I think I was saying Oregon, they had some really good teams, but they weren't able to get over the hump. Right. But I think that's where your assistant coaches come in to help that.
Right. And that was my point coming up. I think he trusts these 2 guys way more than he trusted the guys last year.
Well, you know what? Lamar was the one that alerted me that we might have a problem last year with Gaddis, because I remember he had went down.
I said it on the first week of the season. I said I don't like this.
No, this was before that.
I said it on that meeting. I said,
yeah, he said it on the meeting, and he said, "Man,
call everybody." I said, "Oh Lord."
Yeah, this dude has lost. But to be honest with you, I was kind of disappointed when Gaddis got the job because I knew of what happened to him. He got run out of Alabama. Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, and all those receivers, they went to Nick Saban and they told him, hey, we can't play for this dude. And they got rid of him. And he ends up going to Michigan. And a lot of people don't recall this, but Jim Harbaugh took the play calling away from him last year. And what really made me mad about this guy was in the summertime when he had got the job with us, he was on Twitter arguing back and forth with Michigan fans about whether or not he actually did have the play call tickle. And it's like, why are you even that's not the way a coach is supposed to act. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So from what I understand, none of the other coaches liked him. He was just, but what happened was Mario took his time getting the staff together, and the guy that was supposed to be the offensive coordinator was Jason Candle of Toledo.
Right.
And I remember when he told me this, I was like, that don't make no sense. Why would this guy? And then I talked to the Toledo beat writer who had been on my podcast before, and he said, well, Candle thinks if he stays at Toledo, he won't be able to get a better job. He says he needs to go be a coordinator at a Power 5 to prove that he could get a better job. But then at the last minute, he changed his mind. So then Mario was supposed to get Tennessee coordinator, but his wife told dude, I'm not moving no more. You can go, but you ain't going without. I ain't going. So he stayed at Tennessee, and, she looked like Nostradamus because guess what? He's not a head coach in South Florida. So she must have known something that he didn't know because it worked out.
Listen, I wasn't throwing Mario under the bus. I mean, the crayon writer guy said they beat Ohio State in Ohio State. I know that. And he won 2. Didn't he win 2 Rose Bowl games?
Yes.
And they won the Pac-12 a couple of times. Yeah. But I'm just saying this is something that people were thinking about because we went through it with Butch Davis. You got to understand something. Show you're a good coach.
Butch Davis.
Any changes?
Butch Davis was, you know, I hear everybody talk about Manny and on-the-job training, but look, as somebody that's been a Cane forever, them first couple of Butch Davis years was the most painful, because you talk about a dude that was asleep at the wheel trying to figure it out. He was the epitome of trying to figure it out on the job, because he was making blunder after blunder, and he figured it out.
Right, but
you
he
know,
didn't have much talent to begin with. He came to a team that had just gotten, you know, with the program.
Whoa, no. That first year, remember, the team he had that first year, that team should have won the national championship the year before. And I still to this day like to throw shade at Chad Wilson and Earl Little and them for not wanting to tackle Joe McAvicker in that fourth quarter, because that was the difference. They didn't tackle the fullback once in the fourth quarter, and that's why they lost. If they win that game, we probably the national champions in '94. So he had a lot of those guys coming back in '95, and he just peed all over his leg. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
You know what? Whenever you're on the show, urine stuff. You talk about urine a lot. I don't get it.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard this about Butch. I've never heard anybody say this before.
That's why I bring the guy on. This Kelvin, this Sweets. Sweets has
it is what it is. Watching that, because you got to understand something. When we was going through that, I used to get calls from all my homeboys from other schools, because, hey, man, we've been rubbing it in their faces and rubbing it in their faces. And then all of a sudden there's a chink in the armor. Just like right now, Corey Simon.
Saying that.
Huh?
Somebody got fired for saying that phrase a couple of years ago. A sportscaster said that on national TV.
Or peeing on your leg. Which one?
Oh, the other one. In the armor. Have you seen our offensive line play, Kelvin? Have you seen these guys play at all in the spring or what? Because I don't think
I got some glimpses. I got some glimpses of them. The Maragoa kid. Oh wow.
He can
but Bruce, Kelvin calls these guys. He talks to them. He's like the big brother, and these kids are like, man, the guy from the 30 for 30 called me. But they're like,
by the way, Lamar, I watched this on TV the other night. You know, I just got to say this. You know, I love what ESPN did. The Hulu put out that old trash ass Gator bootleg video, and 2 days later, the U Part 1 and 2 are running, just to show you what a real documentary looked like.
Yes.
That was great.
I haven't watched that Gator crap, and I ain't watching it. That's
Gators have a video. They have a video of the Gators?
Yeah, it's a Gator video. It's supposed to be. I mean, you got to talk about. They didn't dig into some of the things. Like, I want to know what happened in Gainesville to you, Urban. Tell the real story. What happened?
Oh, but wait a minute, Aaron. It's like Aaron Hernandez never went there. They never talked about Cam Newton and why he got kicked out of school. Ain't bring up. There was like the one thing I say about Billy, and people say this, is he talked about the good and the bad.
Right.
Florida just talked about the great. The two great years they had. That's all they talked about.
They ain't talking about why Billy Gonzalez left. I mean, there was a lot of things. What about Percy Harvin? There's a lot of stuff that was behind the scenes that they didn't bring out.
It wasn't behind the scenes. What about the one guy who took a shotgun? He was shooting into a house that was occupied. He got arrested, and he got back in the team. They got back in the team. Shooting a gun in a house with people in it? That's sick.
And like I said, there was no mention of Aaron Hernandez.
No Aaron Rodgers. That's like us not mentioning Michael Irvin. I mean, what the hell? Shit, it happens.
Hey, man, Mike got him a new job.
Yeah, big ups for Mike Irvin and land another gig. That's what I'm talking about. Woo! All of us want friends like Jerry Jones. I'm telling you.
Hey, I was watching that, and Skip Bayless might have said 3 words. It's like he had to be saying, I might have made a mistake here, because when you got Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Richard Sherman on at the same time.
Hey, this crayon writer, I don't hate you. I love you guys. Listen, but I didn't say anything about this. I didn't mention that Mario won and beat Ohio State, but I don't hate him. I like all you guys. You kidding me?
I mean, you know what? Every coach, you know, and Lamar can attest to this because he's coached in the SEC. It's so many different unique situations that show up, and you got a split second to make a decision. And sometimes you make decisions right, and sometimes you make them wrong. It's just that you can't keep making the same mistake on the same decision each time. So if you see it one time and then the next time it comes up, you know from the first time, all right, well, we need to do this. But if you keep doing that instead of changing it, then it's like, hey, man, are you retarded? What's going on? And then, you know, I would assume as a head coach, you got to rely on your assistants. And I guess some of these guys are egomaniacs. I mean, Lamar was with one Petrino, which is why another reason why I think we're going to beat A&M. I think the first time A&M has adversity on offense, Petrino and Jimbo, they're going to go at each other.
Yep. That's a good point.
But they're like Saban was with Lane Kiffin.
I can hear how it's going to go in the headphones. Jimbo's going to say, hey, Bobby, you need to call that play. And Bobby going to say, Jimbo, shut up. You don't tell me what. Okay? I'm picking Bobby Petrino. Okay?
Well, the other thing with the A&M game is their starting quarterback is going to be, and first of all, it's supposed to be Connor Wegman.
Right.
But Brad Johnson's son is transferred there, and there's a good chance that he could beat Connor Wegman out. If it's Connor Wegman, I'm definitely picking us because it'll be his first road game start. It's a 3:30 game. It's still gonna be 90 degrees. The stadium gonna be sold out. It's probably the first time he's ever seen Cubans. It's gonna scare the hell out of him. I mean, I remember.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be sold out, and I think that place is going to be rocking. We are dying for a victory. It's been
Well, can we get past Miami of Ohio first?
Right.
What? Man, why are we talking about Texas A&M?
We're not even discussing it. Let's talk about the game. We're not even talking about it.
Hey, man.
I'll say this about Miami of Ohio.
I don't know why y'all ain't worried.
Well, no, I'm not
worried. I'm about Middle Tennessee.
No, I'm going to say this. Miami of Ohio is an opportunistic team.
Yes.
They got a decent offense. They don't have any burners. Ain't no dude going to go 90. By the way, you give up a 99-yard touchdown and you make the Bengals roster. Wow.
Two corners that got beat last year are now NFL rosters.
But what does that say about the NFL?
What does that say about your safety play?
Too. Maybe they're not so good up there.
What does that say about your safety play?
Well, you know, the funny part about it is we have a preseason first-team All-American safety. And I think the problem that he's going to have, I think he's going to have another good year, but he's not going to get drafted no higher than maybe the third round because he's going to get hit by the measurables. He's probably going to measure out at about 5'9.5", about 190. He's going to run about a 4.55. That's not a first-round draft pick. Nobody, no scout in their right mind, I don't care how productive he is, go put their job on the line for those measurables. Now, is he a good football player? Yes. But as my homeboy says, the NFL is about getting something for nothing. So they're saying, well, yeah, he got first-round talent, but we ain't going to pay him first-round money because he don't have first-round measurables. So we'll pay him.
What was Ed Reed's measurables? What was he? He wasn't that big.
He was bigger than this kid.
Bigger than that.
He was in the right place at the right time, and I think that's one of the things that Kitchens is. He's for the most part. He did make some mistakes last year. He acknowledged it. You know, he got burned looking in the backfield a few times. But he's a playmaker. It's kind of hard not to draft someone who makes plays.
But that puts pressure on your corners, and that makes your corners look bad, especially when you got him being a ball hawk, and you got the other one not really
in the box.
What he's doing. It needs to be in the box. So that made those corners look bad. And you think about it, we had 2 NFL corners.
Yeah.
Or what they said. Yeah, but look, we talked about it. There was, 6 touchdowns last year, Gary? 6 in like the first 2 or 3 games. There was like 6 bombs, 4 in one game.
Yep.
How could that? I mean, something's wrong with the coaching staff to not have these guys back, to have one-on-one coverage.
I can tell you right now, Mario had told me himself he had been wanting to hire Gidry before, and then him and Pete fell out. He lost his job, so they didn't get to hire him then. And I watched the Dawson guy last year when he was at University of Houston, and he's evolved because he used to be one of those I want to throw the ball 60 times a game dudes, but believe it or not, Holgerson of all people told him to slow that down. And watching Houston last year, we're going to have multiple running backs because last year Houston had 3 really good running backs, and they used all 3 of them. And then Clayton Tune, who I think he made an NFL team, he had a really good year last year. This is an offense that fits what we.
When you could run and pass, it makes your job easier. If you're throwing the ball 90% of the time.
Well, even in and I had this conversation with Mario. I said, you got the personnel now to have what we had in 91, that offense we had in 91, because we had Lamar, we had Horace, we had K-Dub.
Right.
And then we had Darryl Spencer. We had Lamar, who, was 4.45, but he was the best route runner. Then you had Horace, who was a freak of nature, 4.31. Then you had K-Dub, who was on a whole nother speed limit at 4.25. And then you had Darryl Spencer, who was a 4.5 guy, but he ran good routes, and most of the time he caught the ball. And we had Greedy Steve back there, so we could go 4 wides. You gotta cover everybody, and we would just inside zone you to death. I mean, and then we come out with a bootleg or a play action pass, they running wide open, I mean, it was just a great situation. And I think Mario's whole thing is just trying to recreate what he had when he was at UM, and I think offensively, I think we could do that. The Ray kid, though, he making them older dudes step their game up. And I think that's what you need. You need competition.
Good.
That's one of the things I talk to those guys about. It's just, you gotta, in order to have competition, guys got to see guys doing extra. And when they see guys doing extra, then they either say, okay, I'm not doing that, or shit, I got to jump on board with those guys. And that's where it was back in the day. You stayed out of practice. If I saw you staying out of practice, shit, I'm staying out of practice.
Yep.
And if I was staying out of practice, I saw you going in, I got some words with you when I got in that locker room, because it was all about us getting better.
And I think that's been the biggest problem, is that these kids, not just our kids, but this generation of kids, they don't hold each other accountable, But
it's all about themselves. It's all about how many stars and their announcement on national TV, where they're going. It's all about them before they step on the field. And then you have a coach telling you it's not about you anymore, it's about all of us, and they don't care. But I think Mario's getting that message across, because it has to.
Hey, you had to cut some people's scholarships. Jimmy did the same thing. Jimmy used to, hey, somebody gonna lose. I'll never forget this. We won national title 87. We in the first meeting. Everybody feeling good about themselves. He coming there all pissed off. And then he says, look to the left of you, look to the right of you. The guy to you next to you, it might not be here, because we 6 scholarships over, and I got to get rid of somebody. And everybody was just in the room stunned, like, where this come from? We just won a national championship.
But it was all after Notre Dame lost too.
Yeah, it was all mind games, because he knew he had been on a hell of a run from 86 through 88, 86 and 87. And you lose in those 2 years, you go 22-1 or 21-1. Win a national championship, should have won another national championship, but your quarterback was point shaving, and and so now you got to find a way to motivate your team. I mean, hey man, look, it's still some dope boys that if they see Vinny, they're gonna put a pistol to his head, because they still mad about that game.
Hey, Kelvin. Well, let me tell you, man. I definitely appreciate having you on tonight. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I am cutting you off. You actually have overstayed your welcome. But listen, can you tell us about your podcast so my listeners can, our listeners can come check it out?
Actually, I'm actually about to record the Miami, Ohio preview of it. It's the U podcast.
Hopefully you put on a better bra, but go ahead.
Hey, I just got through watching Oz, so I'm excited. Yeah, so yeah, it's the Miami. It's at Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. It's Miami-Huddlecast. I don't need to spell that. Well, maybe for Lamar, because they.
Hey, when is the show on? When is the show on, man?
I'll drop this one on Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday night or early Friday morning, and it's just gonna be this one's gonna be a shorter one, just basically a preview of Miami of Ohio, because I'm basically like, what you guys are talking about. We getting ahead of ourselves here. We need to sit down and analyze this team, because they were like top 10 in the country in turnovers.
Yeah,
they had good. Yeah, and their defense has got 9 guys back, and you got
to play sound against these guys. You just got to be solid.
Yeah, we can't be. Can't have 3 interceptions in the beginning of the game like we did against.
Oh my gosh, Jesus!
Yeah, even like Shannon Dawson was saying the other day, the windows are kind of tight against this team. They're there, but these guys are really disciplined in what they do defensively, and you got to just know what you're doing and
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be interesting to see how we respond to having a Friday night opening game. Because that's weird. I mean, and I know it's for the ACC network. I know they're trying to garner ratings, because realistically, people say nobody watches us, but people do watch us. I mean, there's, so.
But they watch.
They watch.
I wonder what the crowd's gonna be like.
Well, I know I'm gonna be there. What about you, Kelvin? Nope, you're not gonna be there, because you're gonna be at Fort Myers High School watching them play
St. Thomas Aquinas
Bureau Prep or something.
No, we got a game against St. Thomas Aquinas, and I've already told Twan Russell that we're gonna beat them.
Can I put a hot 20 on it?
Yeah, I got a hot 20. Listen, no, I'm not being a homer here. I went and watched my high school Friday night because we got a couple kids that are pretty special. But, you hear about it, and I went and watched it. We got a kid that he made me feel so whole after the game. I said, listen, you look real good. I just need you to go to YouTube and watch Warren Sapp, and you can pick up some things from him. And so he looked at me, and I said, wait a minute. I said, you know who Warren Sapp is, right? And he was like, no, sir. And then I was like, then I realized that he was born in 2008. So then I sent him Sapp's highlight tape, and he DM'd me back there yesterday like, yo, that guy was a dog. I learned so much from him just watching that film. And I was like, okay, at least he watching film. But, we got some special kids, but this ain't St. Thomas. St. Thomas ain't the same. And probably because they got Earl Little as their defensive coordinator. I mean, so,
All right, man. All right. Listen, we got a hot 20 on it. Hot 20 right here. We got a hot 20. You saying 10-2 for the Hurricanes this year. Right?
10-2. Yes.
10-2, and we got the hot 20 on the Fort Myers.
Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna up the ante on that one. We're gonna go 10-2, and we're gonna make the ACC championship game.
Oh shit!
Whoa.
Okay. All right. We're gonna hold it.
That's the Kelvin I know.
Well, if that's the case, I guess we're gonna be in the Orange Bowl.
Hey, Kelvin, good luck on your show, man. And if you need me, come on.
Hey, I got you next week.
If you need Bruce will come on.
Yeah, I'll come on.
We're here for you, man.
Bruce is going to have to pay me.
Yeah, like I haven't paid you at Sicilian Oven 5,000 times. They're still asking about you. Where is that Kelvin?
Matter of fact, hey man, hey, listen, y'all need to get them as a sponsor. Them meatballs is off the chain.
Thanks, man. Yeah. We appreciate it, Kelvin.
All right, man. Peace.
All right, Kelvin. See you soon, man. He's such a trip. Hey, so LT, tell us a little bit about Keynesware and what you see around you tonight in the new store.
Well, this is a little section back here. This is like a little studio section back here that I can't. It's called the LT section back here. I'm gonna see where it said Miami bound. It should be an LT bound or something like that. But over there, I'm looking at messy stuff. There's dolphin stuff over here. There's hurricane stuff. There's heat stuff. I mean, this is your ultimate sports stop right here. Right here. Look at that. Look at that. All kind of stuff up in here. I see straw hats. I see a little messy. I see Miami basketball. I see dolphin stuff. I see all kind of stuff up here. I mean, you want to come up in here. I'm telling you. This is where I got to get me some game wear for the game on Friday night.
And it's a 2655 South University Drive.
Yes.
And if you want to go there, and if you want to shop online, you just go to Keynesware.com and they'll ship quick. They'll get your stuff to you.
Yeah, a couple people have commented they've already gotten their stuff. They've ordered.
Yeah. All right. Let's touch on just a couple more quick things here before we go tonight. LT, and we were talking about the roster turnover and stuff, and obviously part of this whole effort by Mario going into year 2, coming out of year 1, is about building culture. And you hear it all the time: culture. I want you to tell us, why is culture so important, and how do you build culture quickly when you have this revolving door that's been going on?
Well, culture, it's like the word, it's the whole organization. You got to be able to, everybody has to know the unwritten rules, the rules. I mean, there's so much in the building of culture in a program. You got to know, like, for example, when I was at Kentucky, they got a brand new building, but the culture stunk. And what I meant by that, I saw a guy come in the cafeteria, this beautiful cafeteria, with no shirt on. And I said to him, put your shirt on. And he got pissed off. And I said, let me ask you a question. If you're at Alabama, you think those guys walk around with no shirts on? Hell no. Because they have a culture that's built on winning and tradition and doing it the right way. And so explaining that to him, he understood what I was talking about. You could get away with this at a Kentucky. The culture ain't worth the crap. But you can't get away with it. The culture is built in where guys know what they can and can't do, and they're always trying to uplift and upbring somebody. And if a guy's down, they're pulling them up. If a guy's up, they're cheering with him. That's what culture is, man. That's your program has to have guys that believe and trust in each other and have been through the fire with each other. So it is this off season that they've had. Those guys have had to fall in love with each other if we're going to have a great season, because it's going to be tough. It ain't going to be easy. There's some games on this schedule. I know we talked about a couple of them, but it's going to be some adversity. So with that being said, you're going to have to be able to lean on somebody, a guy that you leaned on out there on that practice field, and pull through it and believe in each other. Like, the guy next to you is going to do his job, not he's all pissed off. He ain't trying to do it. He actually thinking about transferring. Can't have that. You got to have the right mindset. And that comes from obviously up top and passed on down. And I love what they were able to do. Mario bringing in the guys that they brought in, the Highsmiths and all these guys in the building that I think are on the right page. I've talked to numerous guys, and they sound like they're all on the right page, and they're all trying to get to where they want to be and where they need to be.
Well, I think it's obvious that where we want to be, we all know
Yes.
that. And we've talked about some of the weaknesses. Guys just have not played together as a unit, and that's where you might find some adversity. Somebody may be trying to do somebody else's job, which they're not supposed to be doing, and that's been the theme for the last 10 or 15 years. But I think Mario has everybody on the same page. They all want to win, and I think getting off to a good start Friday is really important. And then obviously the week after is important. And then if that's, and I look at that as the springboard game. I know they're not even an ACC team, Texas A&M, and neither is the first game, but they're must There has to be winning. We have to start winning, not these moral victories. We can't do that.
Bruce, this first game is very important.
Very important.
Obviously, this team is a decent team, and we're going to see what we're made out of. We're going to see what all the offseason talk was about. Yeah. We're going to see if this team can fight through adversity, because it's going to be something. That team is going to do some stuff that's good, and we got to see whether they're going to be the Miami of the last couple of years that kind of laid down and, it's kind of steamrolled and, in the negative way, or is this team going to say, nah, let's be consistent. Let's do it the right way. We worked too hard in the offseason with nobody watching. Let's show what we can do.
How do you feel about opening the season with a reasonable opponent like Miami of Ohio, as opposed to like a FAMU or a Bethune? I love it.
I like it.
I agree.
I like it because what it does is every time we've played like Bethune-Cookman in the first game, or it's been like 90-something to 7 or something, and then
waste of time.
I mean,
we scored 70 last year in the first game, and we still didn't even look that good.
That's a total waste of time.
So I'd rather have a decent opponent in there that we now you can go back and go, okay, what do we need to get better at?
Right.
In Texas A&M, because you might go against a Bethune-Cookman and you outmatch them. You're bigger, you're stronger, you're faster, and they might have the right plays called, but you get nothing out of it because you're just better than them. But now we're getting a team that's a veteran team, that they've made plays, they've done good things on defense, and we get a test. So I think it's going to be great for us.
Yeah.
Got to go out there and execute.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that this should be the baseline of Miami scheduling. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm done with those 70-3 games. They don't help you get better.
They used to be good when you were trying to decide on whether you were playing freshmen or not. You know what I mean? Like you had those 3 games in the beginning, you get to decide on how much playing time a true freshman might get. That's when it was great. But nowadays, hey man, it's too much money out there, too much NIL money. Guys sitting on the bench making 50, 60, 70, 80,000, chilling, driving a Tesla.
Hey, Gary, who's the backup quarterback? Who do you think it's going to be? Brown still?
I think that you got to go with Jakari,
right?
Just on the face value of it. I mean, he was here last year. He participated in games.
And the psychological reason, you don't want to hurt this kid's psyche on this, but he's going to have a short rope, I'll bet.
Well, I mean, you want to keep him engaged. You want a legitimate competition at spring practice next year. There's a million reasons why, he's got to be the first guy. You're not going to throw a true freshman out there.
Right.
Now, what I will say is the true freshman in practice,
he's good.
Look good.
He's accurate.
Very good. Has been very good. And if you're just evaluating it on ability, is absolutely right there. So if it ever came down to it, that's why Mario Cristobal makes $8 million. Okay. He would have to make a decision, and along with Shannon.
Hunts loved Zakori. I mean, he really talked him up. I mean, it's just unfortunate for them. I think the game plans they had last year didn't include him, and when they tried to put him in, they had to put him into what they were running in practice, which was nothing. Really.
He played better in the spring game, Gary. I don't think we'd be talking like this. But that one spring game just really blew it through.
He's not a natural quarterback, Bruce. He's just not. And I think time is going to run out because they're going to continue to recruit quarterbacks. And I think they will go.
They have to transfer out.
Well, I think they will go in the portal after this season and get the best quarterback they can get to bring them in for spring practice to compete with Jakari and Emory. It makes total sense to do that. You'd be negligent to the program if you didn't go out. I mean, look at the guys that people have picked up out of the portal, like Justin Fields, for example, at Ohio State, and Oregon gets Bo Nix, who had quarterbacked at
Notre Dame got the quarterback from Wake Forest.
Look at the Notre Dame quarterback from Wake Forest and what he means to their team. So you can get good quarterbacks in the portal, okay, and you have to leave that option open. And I also think they're going to recruit another high school quarterback because they got to have 5 quarterbacks in the program. This year they really have 3. It's not good enough. They need more quarterbacks. So this is, we'll see what happens. I can tell you this: Jakari is an unbelievable kid, great character, works hard, and I've had people who evaluate talent for the National Football League that have told me that he could be a first-round draft pick if he would, maybe embrace a different idea at some point. And people don't like to hear it. They want to put overtones to it, whatever. This kid is some heck of an athlete, and he is big, and he's a big target. He's bigger than Lamar. He'll give you a bigger catch radius than Lamar ever gave you. And a lot of people think he could be like an Andre Johnson type of player, and that's so I don't know where his career is going to go. I think it's important that they redshirt him this year. They can play him in 4 games.
Right.
Like, I would like to see them redshirt him. Don't waste another year of eligibility. If you don't need to, give him the benefit of time to figure it all out, and it'll work itself out over the next year because they're going to have a competition in spring practice next year, and he'll either be number 1 or he won't be number 1.
Well, you won't be able to redshirt him if something happens to Van Dyke, so that's critical.
No, of course. But if nothing happens to Van Dyke, you could redshirt him. You could play him in 4 games,
and the other kids too.
4 games if you
4
need
games,
to.
right?
Most games Tyler's going start to finish anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see them redshirt both of them, and they can do it. So, all right, Bruce, we're gonna let you go. I'm gonna do a little word association with Lamar to finish off the show. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see it. I'm really looking forward to all these young kids that get in there. I saw Bang in practice. He was in the backfield every time. It's really like going to sleep, Lamar. Good night. Let's tuck Lamar in. Good night, little boy. I want to see Bain. I want to see the kids. I want to see the coaching staff. I just want to see the whole thing. I'm so excited because it was so sour. We've done 2 years of shows, and look at all the crap we've been through doing this for 2 years. Look at LT. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to us winning this on Friday night. Everybody stay healthy. That's what I want. Healthy. Stay healthy.
One way or the other, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
Yep.
So thank you as always for being part of the show with us and being the voice of the fan. I like that. Way. That's
the voice of the fan. I'm also the truth teller.
The truth teller. All right, Bruce. We'll see you next week.
Take care, you guys. Be well.
All right, LT. Let's do this thing. I'm going to start off with Tyler Van Dyke.
Tyler Van Dyke, a guy that he's putting this team. He should put this team on his shoulders. I would love to see him play as well as he did when he started feeling comfortable. I think this offense should help him. I think the last year's offense really hurt him. You go back to the offense he had with my guy that's at what's the head coaches at SMU?
Lashley.
That's it was a wide open offense. It helped him. You go to the offense he had last year, it really didn't help him. I think that this year, this offense, the run, it's really called the I don't want to say run and shoot. It's
a variation of the air raid.
The air raid. It's an air raid. Actually, it's the air raid because when I interviewed with him, I had coached in the air raid before, so it's the air raid. But he runs the ball. And he learned that last year.
Yeah, you're not going to be on a Mario team and not have power run concepts. Because there are going to be times where Mario's going to get on a headset and he's going to say, Shannon Dawson, run the football.
Run the ball. But I think that we're going to see this year, if he stays healthy, and with that O-line, the good talk of the O-line, he should stay upright. And so we should be able to see this guy be able to hit all those receivers and running backs and tight ends and, all the weapons that he has around him. I think it should be a good year if he's able to stay healthy.
What I like is the focus that I'm seeing. He's got he's got agents. He's represented by the Rosenhaus guys and NIL. He had that good year. NIL comes in and they just went crazy. Like they were selling him here, selling him there. He's in doctors' chairs promoting practices, and he had all kinds of individual NIL deals. Well, what they did this time around was they got him paid by the collective. Alabama came in, was used as a bargaining chip, I guess. They got him a good, sweet NIL deal with the collective, and they forgot about all the little individual NIL things.
Right.
And they're letting him focus on playing football. He seems very focused to me. Everything that we've seen and heard from the practice field is how well he's been doing. And, very excited to see Tyler Van Dyke this season. And, hopefully Friday night he's ready to rock and can be out there. If not, I'm sure we'd see him the next week. But I think he's going to have a great season. I really do. He's really embraced the offense.
And I like what 904 Hurricane called the offense the power raid.
The power raid.
I like it.
All right, let me throw another one at you here, LT. Right. How about Shannon Dawson?
Shannon Dawson, just talked about an air raid offense. Learned a lot. He was actually at Kentucky before I got there, and so I heard a lot about him. His offense now, it's a lot different than what it was at Kentucky, because at Kentucky, Stoops didn't want him throwing the ball a lot. He wanted him to run the ball to keep his defense off the field. So he goes to Houston and he develops an offense and makes it even better than it was before. And he developed the run game. I think it's going to be great. I really believe in him and what he has to bring to the table. I feel better about the offense this year coming into the season than I did last year. Put it that way. I'm more excited.
Well, like you said, you interviewed with him.
Yes.
What kind of impression did he make on you?
Oh man, it was a great. Great impression, man. He's very well spoken. We had some great conversation. We laughed. We talked about Stoops and our times at Kentucky, and it was a great interview. I mean, I was like, is this an interview or a conversation? Because it was almost like we were just two guys on the phone, just chopping it up. But and I went down there and got a chance to chop it up with him again. Really good, really nice guy. Very in tune with what he needs to do. And everybody that I've talked to about him says that he's a very bright offensive coordinator. So I'm excited.
Comes across as very bright and very confident.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right, let's go. Let's move on here. Let's talk about James Williams, Lamar.
James Williams, the safety slash. I think he needs to make sure that he stays in the slash, and that means down low. I think where he is going to be most successful is not on the back end, but maybe down low in the box. I think he's that takes away any mistakes he might have had on the back end. And I'm still curious to know, if I go back and look at those game films from last year, I'm pretty sure with those two NFL corners out there, he left them out to dry a couple of times. But that's to be said. I mean, he should be in the box, and I think that's where they're going to play him. That's where they need to play him. Not back at safety. Put Cam back there and put somebody else back there that you can rely on. And I think he's better in the box. So we'll see.
And they've been doing a lot of that in camp, not just when he's at safety, bringing him down to the box, but they're also playing him quite a bit in what they call their Sam linebacker kind of bandit rover, or everyone's got different names for that position, but he's been used a lot like that, and should be the whole season. All right, and let's bring it home, LT, with Mario Cristobal.
Mario, my classmate. All right, bro. You here? It's the year one is gone. You had a couple coaches that you didn't like, not didn't like personally, but didn't do what you wanted them to do. So now you got some coaches around you. You got team buying in. You got 40-some new guys on the team. Hopefully this offseason you built that culture, and those guys will understand that when things go wrong, we're still a team. And if you get that over, Mario, just like it was back in the day, we're going to be on a good path. I truly believe we made the right decision on hiring Mario. I'm in it to win it with Mario. I'm loving what he did with the staff. I'm loving what he's doing with the staff, adding guys. I'm loving what he's doing with the players. So, we're going to cut down on the excuses this year because it shouldn't be any. We just go out and play ball, win games. You might lose a couple, which that's going to happen, but you're going to win some good games this year. And I think he's going to do a better job this year.
I agree with you. There's no more excuses. You're absolutely right. And, I hope that this team this year gets back to just beating some people.
Yes.
It's like, I don't want to hear about this guy's an All-American and this guy's a Heisman candidate. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. The Miami Hurricanes have not beaten anybody in forever. Let's worry about winning football games and beating somebody. Let's beat somebody that can walk and chew gum at the same time.
How about that?
And we'll all be happy. Everyone will be thrilled to death.
Let's get by this Miami, Ohio. Let's have a good showing. I'm hoping I would be happy with 35-12.
All right. I think everyone will take that.
I'll be happy with that. I mean, I would be happy with that. I mean, if they score 12 at the end, I'm okay with that. But 35, put up 35, maybe get an interception, pick 6, and a couple of nice touchdowns by Cole. What's the receiver that switched to number 4? See, I got to learn their names now. See, that's the whole thing. This is what I tell those guys down there. When you become great, South Florida will know your name. That's how it happens.
Well, what KB told those guys, like, I got a room for. He walked in there. He says, I got a room full of Robins here. Okay, I need to find a Batman.
You need to find a Batman. That's what it's about. You got to have.
Who's going to be my Batman?
Batman, Superman, all of them. You need somebody. You just can't have Robin sitting in the back waiting for a bubble screen.
Well, number 4 could be a candidate, Lamar. I think he's going to have a good season. We'll see what happens.
So. I hope that receiver room really steps up. And it shows Mario made a great decision on hiring KB. I really hope they step up.
All right, LT. Well, great season premiere. Great to have Kelvin on, and Keynesware back in the fold. Let me show this store one more time because we thank Keynesware for once again sponsoring the Lamar Thomas Show. You can visit this beautiful new store they have. They just expanded, added all kinds of square footage. I forget the exact number, but by far the biggest Canes store around now. And T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, anything you want, Canes oriented. They have. You see, they got Dolphin stuff, Inter Miami, so you can load up on that kind of stuff too. So the address 2655 South University Drive in Davie. That's 2655 South University Drive in Davie. And they're always open on their website at Keynesware.com. All right, LT. Time to go home and put the babies to bed. Daddy daycare back in action.
Hey, all I know is this pillow is mighty comfortable. And you know what? Friday night, I hope to be sleeping so well after a great win by the Miami Hurricanes. How about that? We get that done. We're on to the next week. So, hey, fans, tell friends, tell everybody next week, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we're going to do it again, baby. After a win. Go Canes.
All righty, guys, and we thank everybody who watched tonight. We appreciate you all, and we'll those of you that are here local or flying in, we will see you at the stadium at 7 o'clock on Friday. If you can't make the game, obviously we'll have complete coverage for you at CaneSport.com. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night with Lamar, and we'll chop it up then as well. So for LT, I'm Gary. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time, everybody.